5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5, me taca no carro, bicho. 1, 2, 3, vou sarrando na PT. 4, 5.
Beep, 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 beep.
Hello, Eagles winning. Hello, Eagle fans out there. We're back with you live. The Indignant Desert Birds. I'm sorry, Kansas City fans. Please don't be mad. You know that I told you Ursula was for the Eagles, and the Eagles have won the Super Bowl number 59.
It does. It has happened, and I mean, there was a lot of. How can we say that? There was some glee. There was some. There was not so much glee. I did like that. There was some of this because a lot of the players on both sides were Christian, but I thought this was good. This is the Super Bowl winning Eagles talking about Jesus.
Why Jesus? Jesus is the reason why we are here today, bro.
I believe in my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Whatever hard time I'm in, I always lean on Him. And
we're all flesh. We sin, and all sins are equal. But He looks down on us as a proud son, and even when I make mistakes, He still loves me. My faith is everything.
Amen. I mean, you do have a lot of the players that talked about their faith, right? And
I know, Fletcher. And that's what's awesome, because earlier today when we went live, and our fans know, we were saying one thing we liked about the Kansas City Chiefs is that we know there's some strong Christians on that team. But since this morning, we've learned, as you have shown us, Fletcher, there are a lot of strong Christians on the Eagles team as well. And we do celebrate that.
No, completely. I mean, one of the things that was awesome that you shared with me, I actually didn't know this. And I don't know if any of our fans knew this. But there was something that's super awesome about the Eagles, and you told me about that 102-year-old Eagles diehard fan excited to be attending Super Bowl 59.
A lady who's 102 years old, a 102-year-old Eagles fan, was invited by the Eagles down to New Orleans to watch this game.
That's awesome.
A century old.
That's right. Good morning, Caroline, and good morning, everyone at home. We are live here in New Orleans, and this just might be one of my favorite stories of the week. This woman, she is 102 years old, the South Philly native, and she is older than the Eagles franchise. Let that sink in for a second here, because the Eagles found her as a good luck charm, and
the Eagles are so tough. They're like, we do have an Eagle-y, and he's the mascot, right? We do have a lot of fans, but you know what we really need? We need a 102-year-old lady mascot. Cheer for lady mascot. And God bless this lady. She is older than the franchise.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Wow. They surprised her with Super Bowl tickets to come down here. And not only is she quickly becoming a fan favorite amongst the fans, she's also becoming besties with some of the players.
Look at this beautiful lady.
Sitting in the lobby of the Eagles Hotel in New Orleans, Eagles defensive lineman Brandon Graham spots the lady of the hour.
I'm excited too.
At 102 years old, Elois Brown is likely the longest living Eagles fan in Philadelphia. And like many diehards, she's watched the team at its lowest and also soar at its highest. Now she gets a chance to see them win their second Super Bowl in person, all thanks to the Eagles.
At 102 years old, what does it mean for you to be down here at the Super Bowl?
Did you see her jersey?
Yeah, her jersey's
102.
That is pretty cool.
That is so cute.
That's a good catch.
It's exciting. And they're like my grandson, football player. That's the way I look at them.
She's on a first-name basis with most of them. I see her as bringing good fortune.
She's their lucky charm, the Eagles' lucky charm. And it's just truly a blessing to be able to have this whole experience with her.
I mean, that is so beautiful. I
It
gotta
is
tell you,
so sweet.
this is like dang onions, dang onion ninjas.
Oh, I
You know,
know.
because oh my
I
gosh,
mean, she's lived over a century. She is lucid in her right mind and healthy enough and fortunate enough to be invited on the Eagles to come see them play in New Orleans at the Super Bowl, and they won. So those who might be feeling kind of salty about the loss to Kansas City, think about those things because you know what, at the end of the day, I like how Jalen Hurts said it. He says, you know what? When they said, how are you feeling? He says, you know, I'm still processing it, but God is higher than the highs and the lows. He's higher than the highs and the lows. You know, it's a low for those who lost, and low for those who are fans of the team that lost. But think about the high that God is in charge still, no matter
right?
what the outcomes
No matter
are.
what,
And to think about the fact that both teams do love the Lord, because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. And that they did this nice thing. This old lady, I mean, she's very close to glory, we think, assuming that everything is going the way nature normally does. And
right?
she's so happy to have been invited to this game. They didn't forget her. They consider her their lucky charm. And that's such an honor to him. You know, to be honest, you don't have to do anything nice. You can just go out and win, or you can also be nice enough to think about your 102-year-old fan and pay her way down to see you play. You know, that's winning right there. That's
No,
a winning, and I know that God honors that. So whether he
it's
honored it
just
with the
amazing.
win or some other way, he's going to honor that. So I'm very grateful for that. That is such a nice story. You know, I do think that, you know, just to give a little bit of background for those, you know, don't trust us. We're not going to just, you know, do a complete post-mortem on the game, but there are some, whether you are a fan of the Eagles or you're a fan of Kansas City, please don't turn away just because your team didn't win, because there were some interesting wins. What we're going to talk about tonight are some of the interesting aspects of the game that anyone could be interested in. You know, we had the first sitting president to come to a game live in the history of the NFL, in the history of our country. You know, we have a halftime show we need to talk about, whether you were for, you know, the Kansas City Chiefs or the Eagles. We got to talk about this gameplay. There were some interesting things happening there. So stay with us. And then we also plan to cover just a couple other stories from Birds on the Wire in terms of our, you know, our commentary on some new stuff. I will say that just to give for those maybe who didn't watch it, you know, the Eagles won. The final score was 40-22. So it really was kind of a blowout, not what people expected. When we were talking earlier, we said we thought it would be a very close game, but actually the Eagles did kind of take over very early in the game. And by halftime, it was, you know, pretty decisive as a lead. And really, the whole game is one of defense, as Jalen said, and it's kind of a common aphorism. You know, offense wins games, but defense wins championships, and that's exactly what we saw. The defense was just so good. Um, they just, you know, it was just really good. And so I think, you know, the defense team on the Eagles, they really just made this a very decisive victory. Hello, Lady Jen, who's joining us. Go Eagles. Yes, we're not trying to gloat. We're being good sportsmen. We don't want to be the way that we might want to here. We do want to be fair, but that Kansas City we're not chumps. They're a very good team. You know, they did stop, you know, a lot of things. They did kind of stop Saquon Barkley at times, but he did have a hard time. But it was just really overall, Jalen Hurts won Super Bowl MVP, very well deserved. And they couldn't get a handle on that team. It was just too much good defense on their side. So it was a very, very fun game to watch for Eagles fans, but it wasn't, even though it was kind of a blowout, I wouldn't say they got completely crushed. They did rally back.
It did rally. They tried to rally back. I think it was a bit of how do we say that they got their mojo, shall we say, a little bit afterwards, right? They
Yes.
started a little bit too late into they got their stride. They pick up the stride, right? They pick up
Yeah.
the stride a little bit too late, and the defense just it was just I think it was just unbeatable on that one, because it was just massive.
And you know what? This is really, for people who might feel a little bad about it, for the other side, think about what this means for Jalen Hurts, because Jalen Hurts actually, you may not know this, some of you, he was actually benched in college football, okay, in his college football title game. And then now he's won a Super Bowl as a starting quarterback. I mean, this is kind of one of those kind of Cinderella stories. He got a lot of crap. People said a lot of negative things about him, especially this season. And he did have a loss, I guess, a couple years ago, whenever the Eagles were back in it. And he said that he kept, in an interview, he said, but that was aired before the game today, that he keeps that at a screensaver. When the confetti came down, he kept it as he kept it as a screensaver to motivate him, to motivate him, to show everybody that they were wrong about him. And he did. He silenced his haters tonight by just playing really well. So, and he did. I have to say, he did outplay Pat Mahomes, or however you say, my homies, Mahomes.
Yeah.
He did outplay him. And he made a lot of people lose money, because I do think people had their bet on Kansas City, for those who bet.
There was a lot of bet. Yeah, there was a lot of betting on Kansas City. And Lady Jen says you can gloat just a little bit if you want.
Okay, I guess we can gloat a little bit. I mean, you know what? The gloating part will be that, like people say, Jalen Hurts is making people really hurt tonight, because they absolutely did, underestimated his abilities, and they kind of talk trash. Like he said, he found that hurtful, but he answered them out there today on the field. So I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good right there.
It was,
yeah, he bounced back,
and everybody has been celebrating. It looks like, they're out in the streets all over the place. A lot of, I think, in not only New Orleans, but in Philly too. It's like people saying it. I guess it feels like the 4th of July.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like the 250th anniversary here. This is what it's going to be like in 2026. Let's take a look down on Broad Street. We'll show you how things are looking right now. And it's really genius what the police have been doing. They are going ahead, and they're kind of splitting up the crowds. They're keeping them separated just a bit, so you can see we've got this group down here. This is
that's massive. That's a whole lot of people.
I mean, I said earlier, do you remember, Fletcher? I said I think that the Eagles fans are going to play a role in this. I mean, obviously the most important win happened on the field. I mean, the defense played by the Eagles was phenomenal. I mean, historical. But I do think the fans play a role. Those Eagles fans were so loud in that stadium. I mean, whenever anything didn't seem to go their way for a call, or anything went their way, the kind of cheering you heard, I have to think that plays a little bit of a role.
No, it has to. It has to, because you have to feel that energy, just the sheer energy of becoming champions, of I could taste it, because it felt like after the second touchdown, I feel like you did have a little sigh of relief, and then it just kept building and building, and it was just unstoppable. And even when they were coming back a little bit, we did see that we do have some Taylor Swift, celebrating, but we did have also Anne Hathaway, who's an Eagles fan.
Oh, I didn't know that. That makes me like her a little bit more.
She was just, this was the fan. I mean,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
The build up, I think, like you were saying, of the fans was just amazing. It was a little bit like, because everybody expected the Chiefs to win, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were they were favored going into this. I think, they had a slightly better season than the Eagles did. And a lot of people, again, I think, looked down a little bit on Jalen, thinking he's not going to pull it out. But they also underestimated this Eagles defense. People have said, the MVP should go to the whole Eagles defense. Just give them the MVP. Don't give it to the individual. Yeah.
It did feel like the defense was just unstoppable. Literally, they they shut out Kansas City completely on the first half. Coming
Just
into the
about,
second
yeah.
half still, and it was only like
in the
halfway.
second,
We would say like halfway into the second half when the Chiefs were able to get their
yeah,
movement.
that the Chiefs offense finally got going in the second half, but they couldn't dig themselves out of a 34-0 hole. That's what we were looking at. Now, Mahomes did finish with 257 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 to Xavier Worthy, 8 catches, 157 yards, and 1 to DeAndre Hopkins. But that was still too little too late at that point. The Eagles defense just killed it. They were killing it. And it really will go down in history, I think. Some people are saying it's like the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, the 76 Steelers. That's the kind of defense, Eagles defense that we're talking about, like on another level, like historic, like they won the game. So
it did feel really, really how can I say it? It did feel like it just came together, it clicked. It did feel like you were watching one of those movie reels when, the team has finally, decided, yeah, we're gonna fight for America. And
it was like that.
It did feel like every play afterwards, like there should be explosion and they shouldn't look back at them.
It was an all-time performance. There's no question, all-time performance. This was really, really fun. And talk about flying Eagles fly. Okay, Fletcher, you gonna play my song?
You can't play your song.
Sing it. I know Lady Jen is singing it. I think we can play that song. It's the Eagles just won the Super Bowl.
I think so, but
fly,
then you just
fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. Fight.
Oh my gosh, if I have to hear this song one more time. And I think it's just gonna have to be probably over and over.
I'm just not gonna stop.
You're gonna be that one person, right?
I'm gonna be that one person.
You're gonna be that one person.
So talk about Trump. I mean, Trump came. Now it was very interesting. President Trump did an interview before the game, and he was asked about this. This is an unusual. Talk about a historic game.
Right.
He said, he was asked, you are the first sitting president to attend the Super Bowl in history, and he said, it's a new day. That he wanted to come because it is a time to celebrate the way the country is headed. And it's funny because the interviewer said, in a way, President Trump, you have played football the way you have done your administration in the first 200 or I guess 100 days or so. Has it been that long? It feels like it can't be that long. It's less time than that. It's not even 100 days. It feels like 100 days, but I don't think so. But it says you're doing like a no huddle offense. And he kind of agreed with that. He chuckled with that. But he says, he wanted to be there in person because it shows in a way the confidence that we should have as a nation, that we can celebrate something that is honestly somewhat frivolous, right? Watching a game. Before, we all felt, under siege in a sense, right? Everybody was really worried about everything. It feels a little bit more like there's adults in the room, that there's a leader at the helm. Whether you agree with all his decisions or not, we don't agree with everything he's done, of course, but we do feel like there's an adult in the room and you can celebrate. You can take your time out and watch a game. I think that's what he was signifying. Do you agree with that, Fletch?
No, I agree. And it's very telling that it's the first sitting U.S. president to go to a Super Bowl game. I think he's signaling this is like America type stuff, like a man's man. This is what American men do. They go watch football, right?
Yeah.
And to get the response, because part of the, the maybe the heads exploding is that he got basically like cheered.
That would be history already in the building tonight, as President Donald Trump becomes the first sitting U.S. president ever to attend a Super Bowl game live. When we come back,
that's just crazy. But we did see like the Taylor Swift people, like she got booed.
How did she get booed, y'all? Why did she get booed?
I don't know. She was getting booed. But the funny thing is then Trump posted himself getting cheered. And then he also posted, Taylor Swift getting booed.
Oh, he's such a troll. He did not, Fletcher.
He did.
He posted, by the way, it looks like he's there with his daughter, Ivanka. I did not know she was a football fan. I'm
Oh,
happy
yeah.
to know that she's a real girl. I like that about her. Very, very,
Yeah.
multifaceted. She's a model and wife and mother and businesswoman and a football lover. Apparently, went with
Yeah,
dad
she
to the
was so
game.
and getting cheered. Look at that. I mean, the stadium was cheering for them, or being shown in the camera, and getting cheered. So
Oh wow.
that was the thing.
That's
Yeah.
so funny. And then Taylor Swift getting booed. I mean, this is in Louisiana. Now, that's an interesting thing because I don't think Louisiana is necessarily, I mean, it is a red state. I think they would have voted for Trump. However, I don't think that the football revelers, those coming out, especially because it seems like a lot of people in the stands were Eagles fans. And I don't think I associate Eagles fans necessarily with the right, but I think Taylor Swift kind of played herself by getting involved with that election, endorsing Kamala Harris, getting herself political. I think that was a terrible decision. I think she should, fire whoever on her PR team thought that was a good idea or approved it if they did, because we don't really want them to do that. That's not really your place. And I think that she maybe got some fans from it, but she also lost a lot of people, right? She kind of hemorrhaged a lot of fans who, stopped following her on X. And I think that might be the reason for the booing. Also, earlier, we talked about how they do put a lot of play on showing Taylor Swift at these games. And I
Yeah.
think there's some criticism about that. We're not here to watch her play. So stop making too much of it. And that may be why. Lady Jen points out that Trump did officially rename the Gulf of Mexico today to the Gulf of America.
So more
And
trolling.
is more trolling. And you know what? Amen to that. Why not? Why not? The Gulf of America. I mean, it's definitely it's making some leftist heads explode, the kind of things that he's doing. So yeah. This kind of thing is really cool. I'm glad that President Trump went. I think there is something cool. Now, I was disappointed. I don't think anyone did the Trump dance. Now, I don't know if they're allowed to do it. Maybe, that's considered too much celebration. I know that sometimes people get in trouble for too much dancing.
Yeah, that's some people were saying that they would have liked to seen the
I want to see a Trump dance.
Yeah, like do like a Trump dance corner.
I bet there'll be some in the celebrating tonight. I mean, everybody is really, really, really excited. I've never seen people so excited. The Eagles fans are, losing it in the streets, not just of New Orleans where the game was played, but also back in Philadelphia for those who weren't able to travel or unwilling to travel. They're losing it out there. They're climbing the street poles, even though they've been greased, and just making a ruckus. But they're very excited. It's a very exciting time. The people, Eagles fans are very enthusiastic fans, as you can tell. Very enthusiastic fans. It means something to them. It's something spiritual. And I think, again, the idea of feeling like an underdog, you can kind of feel like that kind of has like there's an American spirit with that. The idea that like, you can count us out, but we're going to still come back. We're never going to give up. And, we believe in ourselves and we fight hard. I think that's the story that would be true for both teams, to be honest with you. Both teams are like that.
Yeah,
It's
that's
something
true.
about football that makes people feel that way. That's why it's very American as a sport, I think.
No, completely.
We got to talk about this halftime show. We got to talk about the halftime show, y'all. Wow, Fletcher.
There was a lot of people that did enjoy it because they didn't see
You're
any.
lying. Nobody enjoyed it.
There was a lot of people
Stop
that
it.
enjoyed it that we know of.
Who?
Oh, there's a lot of people. Even
I sound like an owl now. Who?
Like conservative David Harris Jr.
Who was that?
He's a conservative pundit, black conservative pundit, and he said, "Black men performing in a Super Bowl halftime show. No Black Lives Matter messenger. No rainbow flags flying. The whole dance team is repping red, white, and blue." So in a sense, they're saying, "Hey, this is America healing," because it didn't show any like American division and all that stuff.
Okay, you know what? Thank you for that, Fletcher. So I guess you're right. That gives me a little bit more of another side. I will tell you my take on it, which is obvious, right? Because the way I started this question, I was not a fan, you all. Okay, so we already said we didn't care too much for Kendrick Lamar. If you heard our earlier show today, our pregame show, this is our postgame show. I have to say, I do like that one song. I mentioned that this morning. The one he did sing,
play.
the one involving the stars. I think it's a very lovely song. It's very lovely.
The one that he did for Black Panther.
Right. I think it's a nice song. If you should look it up. I think it's called All the Stars. It's very lovely. It has a nice, sweet melody to it. I think it has a good message. It has one of hope and ambition. It's a good song. But the rest of the things that he was rapping about, I mean, to me, it was nonsense. And it was aggressive nonsense. It was like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, shut up, sit down, grow up. And it was just like, I don't know. It's like, he was like, to me, okay, I'm going to be really rude now. It's like some old homeless guy who's fighting with himself on the street, talking about something that nobody knows what you're talking about, but you angry about it. That's my interpretation. Okay. You're showing it, Fletcher, and thank you for this. I did like the dancers. I don't think they weren't obviously the feature. The feature was Kendrick Lamar and his sidekicks, Ziza, the Zipper.
The Ziza.
And I don't care for her at all. She does have a beautiful voice, though. I will give her that. When she sang the part that I like, that song about
because literally you're doing a dance that's widely known to be for gang members in Compton, but we're not gonna mention that part.
Oh, we're gonna mention that part
because she's doing she's literally doing the crib walk.
So for people who know, what she's doing, that is, so you don't know this. So we're gonna give some value to our listeners right now. That's called in Compton. So again, not all of our listeners are from the United States. We know that because we get the analytics from YouTube. And not all of them certainly would know about this, even if they are in the United States. But in Los Angeles, there has been for decades turf wars with major gangs. And one of them is called the Crips, and the other one is called the Bloods. And the Crips wear blue and the Bloods wear red. You probably get that obviously with the Bloods, red. And the Crips, they like both gangs have, various initiation rituals and a history of violence and a lot of different sort of anthropological curiosities about them. Now, what's very famous, because Snoop Dogg is a Crip, okay, is they do something called the Crip Walk. The Crip Walk is a special dance that you just saw Serena Williams doing. There's it looks very similar to what you've seen Snoop Dogg do. If you can find one of Snoop Dogg doing it.
Okay.
It's just it's a little bit, she's doing it more feminine, which is how I think the girls must do it. But it's very similar. It's it's hard to describe. You just saw it though. It's kind of like a little jaunty jig that moves sideways. And you kind of move your hands in rhythm to it. Very hard to describe a dance. But it's kind of like a modified Lindy Hop with one person, if I had to say it.
That's that's
the best I can do. And she's doing the Crip Walk, which is funny because that just tells you how far we've gone, that now something that's literally a gang thing is becoming sort of mainstream. So here it is. We got Snoop Dogg doing it. There we go. You see? That's the Crip Walk. And it's a gang symbol. It is what they do to celebrate.
He's on the gang signs right there.
He's doing his gang signs. And you can't do that unless you are a member.
Not supposed to. I mean, back in the days, you would get shot.
You would get shot. It's literally something they would shoot you over because you can't. Now, I'm sure Serena can be honorarily doing it. She's such a big star, and she is from Compton. And Compton is a very poor, rough area of Los Angeles where there are Crips, okay? So she is probably I doubt she's a gang member. I don't think, knowing anything about her story, if you ever seen the movie King Richard about her life, you would know that there was no way in heck that their family allowed those girls to grow up among gangs. They were very strict with them. And there's no way now that she's a multimillionaire, she's hanging out with gang members. But she obviously admires it. And she admires the people that, who've come out of it. Honestly, Snoop Dogg is still one, apparently. He's never said that he's gotten out of his gang affiliation. In fact, it's not easy to get out of it.
And some back in, LA would say that he's still repping a certain thing and giving money to certain people, but
he
that's
might
just what
be,
I
because
heard.
he's never renounced it, from what at least not publicly.
But there's more to this, though.
So she's dancing in a way that, like, she got obviously permission to do it. I mean, there's no way she would do that, because that would be just causing too much beef.
But also, there's a bit of because I don't know if people are not hip to it. There's a rivalry between Kendrick Lamar and Drake. Serena used to date Drake, and in one of the songs that Kendrick Lamar performed is a diss Drake song, and she's performing there. So there was a lot of things about things. So, but this is what she said.
Tremendous is a free platform that allows
an ad.
Well, while we're saying that, we can talk. I can say something about that when we have more to say about this halftime show. But the fact that there's so much drama behind it, that's what I didn't like about it. I didn't know as I was watching it that was Serena Williams. She looks different to me. She slimmed down a bit. Not that she was ever heavy, but she was always so muscular. She looks a little more like normal there, like a little more skinny there.
Well, this is her. Hold on.
Yeah.
Would have been it was all love. Man, I did not crip walk like that at Wimbledon. Oh, I would have been
I guess she's saying that she can't crib walk like that in Wimbledon because she would have gotten fired.
No, she would have been fined.
Fined?
Fined. I think she thinks she'd be fined because they fine them. Now she wouldn't be fired. They work for themselves. Right. But they do fine you for breaking certain rules. She's been fined before. She's been fined for mouthing off at like the referees and callers of the game, because she does have a bit of a temper, and that's famous for her. She would have been fined. Yeah. She looks great, by the way. I think she's aging really well. She almost looks younger than she used to. I think that she looks fantastic. She's in great shape. I mean, obviously, I think she still plays, so that makes sense, but she looks beautiful. But you know what? I don't think it's great that she's doing a crip walk, but I think what's happening is even those gangs are showing how obsolete they're becoming when, like, celebrities can do them, and it's no longer this kind of like secret handshake. Where people, you're doing it on, and I think probably people are proud of it. I mean, ever since Snoop Dogg kind of made it. But to be honest with you, I don't think it's a great halftime show. And although I think she's kind of a highlight, I don't mind her doing it. I think it's a little bit, morally ambiguous to do a gang little dance. But like I said, I don't think it's necessarily any kind of a hat tip to them as much as it is like she's down and she's from Compton. I don't think it's so much she's celebrating the gang. She's celebrating being, out of the hood. Like, Snoop herself, they all made it. But I just think it's not very good. The halftime show to me should be the best of what America can offer in terms of popular culture. I mean, I know you're not going to go up there and have an opera. I get that. You're not going to have Kathleen Battle or Jesse Norman. I get that. Or, any other famous, Luciano Pavarotti when he was alive. Yeah. But, I feel like you can do, you've had Diana Ross do it. You've had, I don't know, big time people do it. I don't know if Frank Sinatra ever did one, but that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting like Michael Jackson. I mean, Kendrick Lamar is not on that level, and he doesn't bring that kind of, honestly, excellence. He is he's a good rapper, sure. I don't think a lot of what he said made sense. I don't think it was uplifting. Okay. I don't think it was a good halftime show, because at the end, I remember being a kid and you watch them. At the end, you just like, you just have a sense of being like so proud, so uplifted. It's almost like they're a winner too. And I just feel like it was like a extended crazy music video, and it had some good moments, but what was Samuel Jackson doing there? Explain that to me.
Well, Samuel Jackson was playing, what do you call it? Uncle Sam, right? So I think that was a lot of people that I saw on X were really enjoying the how do we say it? The Samuel L. Jackson part. They thought that was one of the best part of it.
I mean, he's really cool to watch. Honestly, he's a cutting figure. He has a great voice. I could tell after I took some time to see that everyone's wearing red, white, and blue, that guess he's playing like Uncle Sam, but he's playing Uncle Sam to me, not so much Uncle Sam, but like it's subtly saying it's like a circus. Because he looked like a ringmaster.
It's like a ringmaster. It could be. I mean, there's a lot of there was a lot of how do we say this? It's fanfare and it's fanfare and a lot of it could be perceived as cryptic kind of messaging, I would say.
I think there's definitely cryptic messaging, Fletcher, and I think he's kind of saying something about America being kind of a circus. So I do think that the brother who was complimentary of it, the so-called conservative brother, who's just happy they're not promoting Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is so yesteryear. It's so yesterday.
It did have a little bit of the Palestine thing. I guess
that's what I'm saying.
The dancers
BLM. It's still 5 minutes ago. This is, that's a new message. So he's excited they're not doing that. I don't think that was going to happen. It's so dated at this point. However, I think the red, white, and blue is clearly about the election that we just had. I think it's clearly about the state of America, and the fact that Samuel Jackson is playing a ringmaster of sorts is of note. Okay, is of note. I can't precisely say what kind of messaging Kendrick Lamar is making, or whoever is managing him or pulling his puppet strings is making.
Well, I think JC is the one who's in charge of the halftime show now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Well, he was there.
Yeah, my understanding that he's in charge of this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I saw him there, and he looked very smug. He looked like a fat cat. He's very far from Brooklyn. He's very far. There's no Brooklyn left in him, as far as I can see.
Dang.
And sorry, I'm gonna call it. I'm starting beef. I'm calling beef.
Starting beef already?
I mean, Serena Williams doing a crip walk. I'm starting beef with Jay-Z. So.
Oh my gosh! So now it's like I'm calling you out, JC. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, listen. Is it terrible? But I found it somewhat cringe worthy. Now here's the positives. I do think the choreography was quite nice. I especially like they were so on. It was better when she sang that Star song. The rest of it just seemed like, I don't know, a little bit of a throwaway. She's very short, by the way, and I think they didn't do her any favors with her costume. It just made her look very
like a solid
Indian sex pot with her. Although you get a lot of thuggishness with this outfit and her attitude and how she was acting as well. And then the female dancers who were behind Lamar were also doing the stomp the yard and shaking themselves really vigorously. There wasn't anything like the old days, like Diana Ross, to bring it back to that beauty, right? Even like Tina Turner, who had the kind of frenetic energy, but always with this kind of strong, sultry ladylikeness. She did sexy in a way that was classy, right? There wasn't a thug environment in her. There's no thug bone in Tina Turner. That kind of feel. This stuff, this ghetto stuff, I feel like all the millions of people watching Black women who have no contact with us, they think this is who we are. This is not who we are. We are elegant. Look at someone like Diane Carroll. I like what Lady Jen says. Michael Jackson and Madonna will always be my favorite halftime performances. I actually didn't know Madonna did one. I figured Michael Jackson had done one.
I like the Prince one when he's and he does the piano retention. I thought that was.
See, that's what I think the level should be. I don't think it should be right. It should be a high level. It should be people who sell out stadiums normally, like someone like Michael Jackson, someone like Prince, someone on a very high level, like Diana Ross back in her day, like Mariah Carey, right? It should be somebody who has a great, strong talent. And not that rap is obviously pretty mainstream now, but it's just not, people don't realize rap when it came out, in the late, 70s, maybe late in the 80s and 90s, and then, got ridiculous. It was a voice of the people. It was like Vox Pop. Now it's very commercialized and almost like a parody of itself. But anyway, so here we are. Oh,
No,
look at this. Yo, Kendrick, I'm really happy for you. I'm going to let you finish, but Michael Jackson had one of the best Super Bowl halftime show of all time. That's a great picture.
No, it did have some interesting. You did say that you did like the Nike commercial. You said
So we didn't talk about commercials yet. Let's talk about commercials. Let's talk about the best one. This wins. People were talking about what would be the best commercial from the Super Bowl, because that's when a lot of really good commercials would debut. This one was fire. I was prepared not to like it, Fletcher.
No,
it
sure.
was. It looks like it's. You guys don't judge it. Watch it. It was brilliant. It's actually really good.
It was very well done. And I mean, you could perceive it different ways. I think the artistry behind it was very beautifully shot. I mean, it looks like a work of art. It was very, very well done. Regardless of your opinion on any of the people shown in it or whatever, it was beautiful. The way that it was designed, it was really well done. Like
it was beautiful. It was beautifully done. And let's talk about it. I mean, the commercial is Nike, and it's a very pro-woman, but not feminist take on women in sports. And we've had so much to talk about that in this show, starting back with the Olympics and having the Transformers beat up on women in the ring. And we've been seeing, movement in this area with President Trump signing an executive order about, men and women's sports. This is like a wonderful reference point to that, because the entire commercial is about the kind of struggles women go through to play high-level professional sports, and how they have so many voices that kind of tell them that they can't do it, or that they shouldn't be a certain way that they are, and that they have to overcome those voices, those naysayers. Sometimes they're stereotypical things, such as, oh, you're not supposed to, talk back, or you're not supposed to be unladylike, or you're not supposed to do this, and go do it anyway. But it wasn't a feminist message, you guys. I mean, feminism is a bankrupt methodology, is a bankrupt theology. We're not feminists on here. This is different. This is almost like woman empowered. This is the kind of womanism that God likes, right? The kind of way that he made women different and special. And it's okay to lean into that and the great gifts that he gave you. Not every woman can do something like this, for sure. But for those who can, he did call you to be what he gave you to be, right? If he made Caitlin the way she is, Caitlin Clark, he made, Dominique the way he made her. He wants you to do that. And he doesn't want you to have to compete with men to do it. So I feel like this is actually really well done, Fletcher. And as you say, it's beautifully shot too.
Yeah, as Lady Jen says, very fitting commercial for a recent executive order. We were on the verge of being erased in female sports, which is, it's a big thing.
She's right.
It's so big. But I had a favorite commercial as well.
Are you going to, we can't show it, huh?
Yeah.
Sorry, folks. There's a breaking development. There's something down.
What is that?
Looks like a koala or a dog or a.
They're all out there right now. They're trying to catch it. They're having a real hard time with that track.
He's got no.
I think they got it. Nope.
Now he's gone and driving a cart. Uh-oh. Watch out for the goal. Oh. Oh, that thing is.
I thought that was great. I think that was great. It's like no dogs. What is it? No dogs were harmed.
No dogs or aliens were harmed in the making of this commercial.
I thought that was the one that I liked.
That was a live action commercial that happened at the Super Bowl.
Right.
And you're right. It kind of ties, maybe. I think it's second to the Nike one, which was brilliant for the women in sports.
It was great. It was great. But you did also want to talk about this.
Yes.
So this was something briefly that we are going to share. And it's, it's a little bit different. But this is from the Manhattan Contrarian, and this was something that we found interesting. And
Yeah.
it's an article or opinion piece, should we say? Is it an opinion piece? Is there?
Yeah, it's an opinion piece. This is an interesting blog. I think it kind of goes, I wouldn't call it right wing, although it might veer towards the conservative side. And it seems to be a blog about stuff from New York. And I like the way it says kindergarten constitutional law comes to the Southern District of New York, and it spells constitutional with a K the same way that a kid might misspell words that have the same sound of C and K incorrectly. And basically it's talking about the judge, which we talked about earlier today, that is shutting down basically Doge's efforts. And I think I'm going to read some of this, Fletcher, because I think it might help people to understand it, because, you know, we're not experts in this, but this one really does a good job. So it says, in yesterday's post, reviewing a Washington Post op-ed by Ruth Marcus that called efforts by the duly elected president to direct the bureaucracy to implement his policies a, quote, power grab and a, quote, onslaught against the government itself, I described the piece as reflecting kindergarten level constitutional analysis. After all, my 6-year-old first grader grandson is fully capable of reading the first sentence of Article 2 of the Constitution, which states, the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America, and figuring out that this guy is given the sole and full power to direct the executive branch of the federal government. Nothing about the elected president exercising such powers is or can be a, quote, power grab. If you are somehow unable to grasp that simple proposition, you therefore must be at a sub-first grade level of comprehension, and thus kindergarten level at its best. Well, today, kindergarten constitutional law came to the Southern District of New York. That's where this happened. In response to a motion made by some 19 states, all Democrat-led, a Southern District judge named Paul Engelmeyer issued a temporary restraining order preventing President Trump and Treasury Secretary Bessent from granting access to Treasury Department payment systems to anyone other than, quote, civil servants with a need for access to perform their job duties. And then this article gives you a copy of the order, which you very much should go and look at yourself and see what the order that the judge wrote is. She says, looking at the language of the order that I just quoted, it seems to mean quite clearly that even President Trump and Secretary Bessent themselves are enjoined from looking at the line-by-line details of who is getting paid by the Treasury. Why? Because the information is, quote, sensitive. I'm not making this up. So who is this Engelmeyer guy? It says, you will not be surprised to learn that he is someone with the highest of the high credentials of the super elite who claim the prerogative to run the federal government outside of any democratic control. She has a link to his Wikipedia bio. The bio contains a prominent caveat that a, quote, major contributor to the bio, quote, appears to have a close connection to the subject. I take that to mean that Engelmeyer probably wrote the thing himself, so take it for what it's worth. The bio says that Engelmeyer is a summa cum laude graduate of Harvard College and a magna cum laude graduate of Harvard Law School. He clerked on the D.C. Circuit and then for Thurgood Marshall at the Supreme Court. He served as a prosecutor in the Southern District of New York and did a term with the Solicitor General's office in Washington during the Clinton administration. And at some point, he slid seamlessly into the job of managing partner of the New York office of Wilmer Hale. He was, to answer Lady Jen's question, who was he appointed by? He was appointed to the Southern District Bench by President Obama in 2011. Now, the blog article goes on. There's a guy who was indisputably really, really smart. For a few of my prior pieces on rule by people who are really, really smart, try here, here, and here, she obviously is going to tell you that it's not good to always be ruled by so-called smart people. So she says this, Engelmeyer is so smart that he has figured out that the elected president and his designates cannot be allowed access to the details of where the government's money is going because that information is too, quote, sensitive. Here is the key line of reasoning, if you want to call it that, from Engelmeyer's order, quote. Do you want to read that part, Fletcher? You read the order.
The court's firm assessment is that the states will face irreparable harm in the absence of injunctive relief, both because of the risk that the new policy presents of the discourse of sensitive and confidential information and the heightened risk that the system in question will be more vulnerable than before to hacking.
Exactly. So irreparable harm for the disclosure of sensitive information. But of course, Engelmeyer's order specifically exempts from its restraints, quote, civil servants with a need for access to perform their job duties. Those people somehow have a higher standing to know whom the government is paying than the elected president and his designees. By what constitutional provision? Engelmeyer fails to mention that. A bit farther down in Article 2 of the Constitution is the line that describes the president's main job, quote, he shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. Now, how exactly is the president supposed to do that if the courts think that they can prevent him from getting access to the details of where the government's money is being spent? At her blog today, ex-law professor Ann Outhouse was quickly on top of this issue. Can you read that?
Is the federal judge taking the position that the name of enforcing the take care clause, it is the role of the judiciary to oversee whatever the president does with the executive power that the Constitution vests in him? Is there some extra legal notion that the federal judge should seize the power that put all the brakes when president with questionable judgment is moving too fast?
Excellent questions. But sorry, Ann, Judge Engelmeyer is way, way too smart to ask himself such insightful questions. He knows that his main duty here is to his team to prevent the duly elected president from changing the preferred policies of the permanent bureaucracy. The role of his super brain power is to come up with some devious logic that can make that result seem somehow plausible under the Constitution. This one is really too crazy to last long. The only issue is how much left-wing judges like Engelmeyer will be able to slow Trump down from fulfilling his promises to the electorate. And update, a couple of comments from Glenn Reynolds of Instapundit. One, it's a previously unknown clause in Article 2. The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States unless he threatens the establishment's feedlot. That's the new clause we didn't know. The executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States unless he threatens the establishment's feedlot. And number 2, Engelmeyer is angling for attorney general in the next Democratic administration. And as she says, really, ridicule is the only appropriate response to this kind of thing. And here's a picture of this dweeb.
Memers, please take this picture and do
at your leave.
At your leave.
At your leave.
Lady Jen says these people have T3 clearances for Trump nominated Putin, which is just like top secret clearance. That would make sense, right? But nah, that you can't have that, Lady Jen. You can't have that. That's can't have the president actually knowing anything.
Imagine that. It's a great point, Lady Jen says. You have people that Trump nominated who have top secret clearance, which, by the way, if anyone knows, I've had friends who've gotten it. I have relatives actually who've worked in the military, can't tell you about them, who've had top secret clearance before. Not maybe top like this, but certainly up there. And it's very hard. It's very hard to get top secret clearance. You have to have more than just your normal good record, right? You can probably get a decent clearance with just a good record. You got to have like a perfect record. You can't have ever been held after school. You can't have thrown spitballs at your neighbor in school. I mean, they will go back deeply into your history. It's really, really tough to do. So you have people like Lady Jen very astutely states who have top secret clearance, who are not allowed to look at these records, that are eminently trustworthy, but regular civil servants to do their jobs. This dweeb says, okay, they have to be able to do this, this dweeb judge, they have to do their job so they can still look at it, but not your people. Come on.
No, it's crazy.
Come on.
It's crazy. And I guess it goes along the line with something that you had sent me earlier, because some of the Sunday government pool things that they're trying to show is the memes, right?
The memes are killer. This meme, okay, guys, don't be shocked. This meme is hilarious. Rawr! I'm gonna tariff you back. That is clearly Trudeau, and this is gonna give some people nightmares. I'm sorry. Just go on, Fletcher. Just put. You didn't show it.
What?
You didn't show it.
I didn't show it.
I'm gonna tariff you back in his underoos.
It's come on. I'm gonna tariff you back.
Rawr!
I did see this. No Mexicans. Now
big
I did this one on that one, because I said Alaskan Mexicans was the other one that I heard about this.
Arctic.
I heard Arctic Mexicans.
Arctic Canadians. So we
Canadian,
just you follow the joke. They're just
yeah.
like Mexico to us. Basically something that they're lesser than us, that we have to help prop up, and or to our neighbors to the south and now to the north. So it's like the snow Mexicans. The Arctic Mexicans. I think it's a wonderful put down.
Yeah.
The snow Mexicans are mad, big mad. We got to rename Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
So just like we named Gulf of Mexico. Wait, what are you going to call it? Go back. Lake Ontario. Oh, time to rename Lake Ontario in Canada.
Yeah. Lake Trump or
the
something.
Snow Mexicans. Yeah.
Snow Mexicans. And this one is from the meme from the Invincibles. Where it's Mr. Invincible talking. You obviously know that it's him. He's trying to do the whole, like you can't really tell who I am. I'm incognito. So it says deep state. I fear no man. But that thing scares me. And it's that.
It's a little innocent dog, Doge, which is Elon Musk's team looking for government waste, of which there's plenty, and the deep state is actually fearful of it. Which is why they're having people trying to block it. Don't explain. You can't explain the meme?
You can. If you explain the meme, I think it harms the meme.
Okay, let's not explain the meme. Sorry.
So someone says, what's happening in America is roughly equivalent to the yearbook committee and theater kids' types being rocked by football team and chess club alliance.
That's exactly right. I'm sorry. You said don't explain the meme, but you got to explain this one because it's hilarious. Because the kids who are like the cool kids, the yearbook committee and the theater kid types who like rule the school, right? They're like, oh, we're so cool. And then you have like the football team, which are the most powerful with the chess club. It's like Trump is clearly the football team and Elon Musk, the chess club alliance. And they working together?
Yeah.
Oh, forget it. You have no chance.
You have no chance. So this one, how can you fire women and minorities? Easy, just give them a smaller severance. Nice. Very, very well done. And here you have the Drake meme. Audit the IRS. Autopsy the IRS. That's funny. And we have a Vietnam veteran hat. Yes. So this one's also good.
Yes.
We have the old Scooby-Doo. Would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you pesky kids. And we have RFK Jr. unmasking Bernie Sanders as the true villain behind
that. Yeah.
Here we have, I think, one of those Breaking Bad memes. Government, every time they steal your money, now thank me and shake my hand. We have Kevin Costner one. If someone going to violate my data privacy, better be a deep state goon with a history of perjuring himself and not some entrepreneurial autism trying to save me money.
Exactly.
That's right.
So exactly. You want a deep state goon. That one you can violate data privacy because, of course, they are doing it all the time. But we don't want some entrepreneurial autistic guy trying to save me money. That's that's beyond the pale.
That's like, let's not go crazy. So this is the other Project 2025, with the Dems and the kid putting the boot in his head. So that's actually kind of funny. We did stop hearing about this Project 2025, or have we? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah.
How government works: breaks your legs, sells you a wheelchair, taxes the wheelchair, regulates the use of the wheelchair, assures you that without the government you wouldn't be getting around so well.
This one wins.
That's good. Is that the one that we should go?
Boom, roasted.
That's what you got to
Roasted. Very good, Fletcher. You haven't done that in a while. You needed to do that.
Yes. So this is the community, and it's funny because I guess this one's one of those many levels memes. So you have Abbott and Troy and Abbott in the morning.
If you ever saw the show Parks and Rec, not Parks and Rec, Community.
Yeah, Community.
They do that little ditty.
Yeah, armed citizens, governments disarm citizens. Why would you do this? It's part of that. Why would you do this meme? And it's yeah.
I mean, no, look at that meme. I think that deserves a little bit. I'm not going to explain the meme, but you have on the left, armed citizenry. And what does government look like when they're armed, right? It's happy. It's a good time. Disarmed citizenry. Then look at the government. Look what's in his hands. That tells you everything.
So, friendly reminder: Robin Hood didn't rob from the rich to give to the poor. From the rich to give to the poor, he robbed from the government and gave back the tax to the victims. That's true. That was one of my biggest pet peeves when people always talk about Robin Hood, because I think it's kind of ridiculous. But I did have animal thing. There's all kind of cute ones, but I thought this one, I just saw this one. And I thought it was really cool. This was a little bit from back in the day, so I thought it was fascinating. This is a gas station in Anchorage, Alaska. What animal do you think is going to show up, Ursula?
A fox?
Is that your final answer?
A moose?
Let's see.
Oh my gosh.
It's so majestic.
That is a big old moose. What is going on? Alaska's too wild.
Isn't it crazy?
He's just hanging out at the gas station.
He's hanging out at a gas station. Just
He's
eating.
Enormous.
It's like I'm just chilling at the gas station. I'm gonna heat up all your tree leaves.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just chilling.
He's unbelievable.
I'm gonna go in, get me a coffee.
You are not
later.
ready. Exactly. Yeah. Give me a coffee later. You are not ready for Alaska. You are not ready for Alaska. I do want to say about that judge, you know what? We call him a dweeb. We do have respect for the judiciary. We don't want you to think that we're putting anyone down, but we do think it's a bad decision, and hopefully it will get, challenged appropriately. But, dweeb is not a bad word. It means somebody who's like a nerd, basically, someone who's, too studious for their own good, too clever by a half, which is what I think that blog article was saying. So we just want to clarify that. And yes, amen to the moose, the big boy out there. So, Fletcher, when are we back? We gotta go. We're just doing a quick post-game show, but we'll be back, right?
Yeah, we will be back. Lady Jen sent me something. She sent me something to... Let me see if it comes through. Sorry, Lady Jen. I don't have my IG connected to my computer for some reason. So I'm going to see if it does sync it up. I should try to do it. I don't know if I can even send it to myself. I don't know. When are we going to be back?
I mean, we definitely should try to be back for our Thursday show live on the wire, but we were thinking about maybe doing some things before then. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, no, definitely. And this is the meme that Lady Jen sent me.
Is this going to be scary? Because she's talking about you can't unsee it. And that was bad enough with the Trudeau picture.
So.
Ah, that's so so cute.
That
pretty
is
funny.
true.
That is pretty funny.
You can't. That is true. Once you see it now, you can't unsee it, right?
See, it was hiding there all along.
It was hiding there all along, and we would have gotten away with it.
Too.
If it wasn't for the
pesky
Australians.
kids. It wasn't for that pesky lady Jen McMahon.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We would have gotten away with it.
Australia would have gotten away with it. Oh, darn it.
Oh man.
Australia, you have a lot to answer for. You know. Well, thank you, Lady Jen, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Ciao.
Ave Maria, Maria, rogai por nós, Santa Mãe de Deus.